to the audience. So,
Okay.
welcome on stage, testimonials. Testimonials are taught in various school settings, including private, charter, public, and Title I schools covering grades 7 to 12 and a 4 by 5 split class. In her first year, she was nominated Teacher of the Year in Placer County, California, for her work in designing an English department at a new charter school. During the COVID pandemic, she was invited by Stanford University to share her strategies with leaders at the Department of Education. Her previous roles include positions at Holland and Hart LLC, Welcher Literary Agency, and Catering by Design. Tess has earned credits from several universities, including the University of California, San Diego, California State University of Fresno, and Dominican University, and holds an MA in Education from the University of Phoenix, as well as a BA from Fort Lewis College in Durango, Colorado. Wow, that's awesome. Awesome introduction. Yes, so the stage is all yours. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. I hope that you've all had a beautiful experience, and I just want to keep the ball rolling. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I just want to make sure in the chat that you can see what I'm presenting to you. So I'll just make sure that that is working. Okay. So this is the slideshow, and here is my information. I want to let you know that I have a podcast, and so if you would love to join my podcast, it's called Breakthrough. So pull up a chair and join into that conversation. Here's all my information so that you can connect with me. And I'm just going to keep rolling through the rest of this presentation because we've only got a certain amount of time. I don't want to run out. Okay, here we go. This presentation is aiming to let you know about the positive trajectory we are already on with diverse inclusion and feminine leadership. So when we start out talking about like feminine leadership, I always like to talk about like abundance, that we are allowed to have abundance, that wealth is a positive thing. When I was 12 years old, I had a peanut butter jar my mom cleaned out, and I was using that jar to put my chore money in. I was watching visually my accumulation of wealth happening. By the time I was 12 years old, I had a bank account started. I was also babysitting a lot. So I had 3 months worth of clientele that I was marketing out to. Word had spread about my babysitting, and I had a full-time business at age 12. By the time I was 16 and 18, I knew that wealth, currency could provide me independence. It was a positive thing. At 16, I was a waitress. At 18, I was a bartender in America. I don't think that's even happening anymore, but it provided me independence in the way that I could buy my own clothes. My parents could afford a certain level of clothing for me, but I was able to buy like J. Crew clothes, which were a big deal in the 1990s. I paid for the gasoline in my car. I paid for all my entertainment, going to the movies, so forth. So when I had conversations with my parents, it was more of a collective thought of, hey, I'm going to go to the movies with Lisa. I didn't have to ask my parents for anything. And that made me feel good. At age 19, I knew that wealth provided me support. I not only was paying for all my own entertainment and clothing and food when I was that age, but I also had $5,000 saved in my bank account. So when I went off to college, I knew that my accumulation of wealth was supporting me. So heart-centered is our new currency, and that women deserve wealth and abundance. So we really want to strip those old world thoughts of, I don't need to charge my client that much money, or it's okay if I'm not rich. The more money you accumulate, the more abundance you have, the more you can serve others. And if you want to dig into that further, I've left some other women, I'm bridging some women to you on this screen right now. In 2007, I saw that my stocks were going down right before the 2008 crash. I pulled my money out. I paid my rent 6 months in advance, and I dropped some money down in my utility bill. And I just told them, call me when it runs out. I gave myself the freedom to think and dream. I was going for runs every day. I was writing poetry, and I was thinking of other women. If other women weren't working 3 or 4 jobs, single moms trying to make ends meet, always thinking about, can I make rent? What would the freedom provide for their minds to invent and create alongside us? So at that time, I wrote a poem and I gave it to every presidential candidate, about 15 that were running at the time. And I'm going to read that to you because in that poem, I also wrote in my letter, let's get rid of these two-partied systems and let's create the bridge party. Let's all bridge together. And how funny that that's our theme today. So our time as Americans has come to work together by example, leading our nation into our future. Upon arrival, we will find rejoicing around the globe in our growth as a nation, as humans, humans whose hearts are now whole. We no longer simply see man or woman, skin color, separation by religion, Republican or Democrat, monetary or dream, left brain or right brain, science or art, kindness or achieving. By working together instead of arguing at each other, we create harmony for ourselves, for our ancestors, for our children, and for our neighbors, no matter the distance of land, ocean, air, or footsteps between us. Let the valves of our heart open, extending dreams to each other. In reality, the kindness of our collective souls will rise above. Humans will further elevate to higher purpose here on Earth and galaxies beyond. The 2 candidates out of the 15 that wrote back to me when they were vying to be president were John McCain, who ended up heading the Republican Party, and our now President Obama, who was then running as candidate. The both of them wrote back to me specifically about how this poem was encouraging them to run for office. So dreams do come true. I'd love for you to flood the chat right now. What bridges do you already create? As women, as business leaders, what bridges do you already create? We know we do. We know we have 1,000 of them. So I'd love to see in the chat right now, what bridges do you already create? I know as a woman, create bridges even when we are having people join for the holiday meals, right? So go ahead and flood the chat. What bridges do you already create? Here's another bridge. These are my students last year. They're 7th grade students, and they were researching hygiene products and food products. They became activists. They bridged together the thought of we are the consumer, and we're going to tell the corporations exactly what we think about the ingredients in our food. Not only that, but as young activists, they taught the 6th graders, the younger generations below them, what ingredients were in their food and presented to them. When they wrote to the companies, this is a letter that one of my 7th grade female students wrote to a company. In the first paragraph, she talks about how she uses fiscal analysis to discuss with the corporation the amount of money she has spent on them to help them with their profit and growth and why they should listen to her. In her second paragraph, she dissected what the ingredients were that were poisoning her body, such as monosodium and silicon dioxide, and she spells it out for the company that these two ingredients cause nausea, migraines, skin flushing, hot flashes, and more. In the third paragraph, she talks to the company and holds them accountable, stating, "You wouldn't want to poison your family with this. Why are you poisoning mine?" In her next paragraph, she compares the noodles that she's been buying from that company to other noodles that do not have those harmful ingredients in them, and talks about how she could create a walkaway strategy. But then at the end, my 7th grade female student comes together with her conclusion to not only hold the company accountable, but to hold their hand and bridge forward into the future. She states, "I look forward to hearing back from you. I appreciate the time you've taken to read this letter from a longtime customer. Together we can change the world and have healthier lives. We can live in pride for selling food that won't poison our bodies. Let's help corporate America become noble." Our younger generations are ready. Their souls came to earth now on purpose. They know we are finally able to hear them. They heard our drum of progress. When we think about progress, I was having a conversation with Omi. She owns Moods, Moons, and Magic. And we were having a conversation this summer in Costa Rica about progress, that progress is about expansiveness and that we can see it blooming. And this is very much so a feminine thought, not a masculine thought. And it's not anti man, it's just the feminine side in all of us coming to rise. You can also look toward Guard Chance, who is an Chinese energy healer. She learned from her father, one generation plants trees so another can enjoy the shade. So all these women do that. When we're looking at women and their impact, we can look toward Quanon Chasing Horse. She is a Lakota Indigenous American. She has been fighting for climate change her whole life. When she got onto these podiums and started speaking about the earth and how we need to take care of it, so many people took notice that she ended up being a fashion model as well. She's been walking in the Paris Fashion Week for several years now, and she's on covers of magazines like Elle. She has a new documentary coming out that she's collaborated on, and it's called Bad River. It's discussing why the oil pipelines are not needed and they are very dangerous because they will poison our American water and also the waters of our world. When we know that our Indigenous women are being held up not only as beauty, but also through their thoughts, that we are lifting up their voices and we are listening to them, we know that we are living in a time of expansion. We know that progress is here. A woman did that. A woman did that. Next, we have Rihanna. She's looking bold, beautiful, and pregnant in lingerie on the cover of a Vogue magazine. Rihanna flipped the fashion industry on its head. If you watch the Victoria's Secret fashion show the other day, you would notice that there are 60-year-old models walking down that runway, and there's no way that would have happened without Rihanna's help. Rihanna, with her fashion line, created fashion movies. And in those fashion movies, she took a man with a soft, round belly, put him in lingerie, and made him sexy. She changed the course of what we deem as beautiful for the rest of our lives. She's letting everyone know that all women and men, all body shapes deserve love. All body shapes deserve to feel sexy. All body shapes deserve desire. All body shapes deserve to be seen. Who did that and changed the fashion industry? A woman did that. A woman did that. You can chant it with me if you want to. When we are looking at flipping industries on their head, we want to think about still valuing the workers. So the man or the human who invented the cassette tape, at one point in their lives, they had to say, you know what, I'm out. The CD has come along. And then the CD also had to bend its hat and say, now it's streaming. When we look at logging or any of these kind of industries that we're looking at to change, or like if we look at Detroit with what happened after the auto industry left, we want to make sure that we hold those workers in our hearts. It's not them that are wrong. We love them, we value them, we want to educate them, we want to keep them, and we want to let them know you are not forgotten. It's just the industry that is gone, and we are leaving it with pride, but you are not forgotten and you have a place with us. When we also look at industry, we can look toward Beyonce, another woman of change. When she came out with her hair care line last year, she gave away $500,000 for her cosmetology school and scholarships for young people who wanted to go into cosmetology. When we look globally around the world, most of the world values vocational programs except for the United States. So we can bend and look at education around the world that's doing a superb job. Beyonce knew that, and she gave away that money for the scholarships. Not only did she do that, but when she had her celebration about her hair care line, she invited other women who also have hair care lines. Gabrielle Union has her own hair care line, and she was at the opening of Beyonce's hair care line. They were there as women together celebrating. There is no fear of each other. There is no lack of. We can be together, pull up a chair together. There's always room. We are living in a time of yes, and we are living in a time of pull up a chair. We're living in a time of we'll make room. We don't have to fear anything. Who did all this change? Beyonce. A woman did that. A woman did that. When we're looking at our own companies, we need to be focused on the fact that, do our companies match our world? And why should they? I'd love for you to flood the chat right now and talk about, why should our companies match our world? When I watched the vice president debate just a few weeks ago, it was two white women interviewing two white men. And I thought, wow, this is really embarrassing as an American, thinking that the world is watching us. And why is that? Because it's not 1952. What's going on around here? We have beautiful voices of everyone, and we should be looking like that as well. Our companies should match the world. Our boardrooms should match the world. Our Supreme Court should match the world. They should be looking like us. And how can that benefit us in our business when everyone is at the table? How can it benefit us when our neighbors come over and we all break bread together? How can it benefit our clients when we all have a voice? So go ahead and flood the chat if you can. We also want to think about, in our companies, dream space and why we need dream space, right? Remember, all the way to the front of my presentation, I was talking about how I retired for a year, and it gave me an opportunity to dream. So when we have dream spaces at the boardroom, at the water cooler, with a new employee, how can we hold those voices, and why is it important to have a what if dream space? What if there were always 2 Indigenous seats on the Supreme Court? What if cars ran off heartbeats? What if ski gondolas transportation ran above roads? What if schools had male warrior time? What if elementary schools had video game creation instead of simply elementary consumers? So when we think about building what if spaces with our clients, with our employees, with our coworkers, with our husbands at the dinner table, we need to create some norms. So think of what we need, not know this and no judgment and know that, but what do we actually need to create these spaces so everyone feels comfortable to dream and have that what if moment? So if you could right now, please fill the chat with any what if statements that you could provide. So what do we need to create a what if space? And also, what if statements do you have? So go ahead and fill the chat with any of those. Dream with me right now for a minute. These what if statements could be in your personal life, or they could be in your professional life as well. And then I want to finish out with, after my presentation and all the presentations going on today, what bridge will you now create? Is this a bridge you're going to create this year? Is it a bridge you're going to create this month? Is it a bridge between you and your client? Is it a bridge between you and your employees? Is it a bridge between you and your family? Is it a bridge between you and your neighbor? So go ahead and flood the chat. What bridge will you be creating now that you've been inspired? We're looking at 15 minutes and 12 seconds, I think, for my time. So I just want to give a moment if anyone wants to ask me any questions or anything, you please do. I've left my information up here for you as well. Yeah, any questions? You could unmute yourself and talk to me.
Thank you so much, Testimons, for the great speech today. And if you want to reach out Testimons, you can take the screenshot of this so you can contact her directly. So this is a question from our audience. So you mentioned writing a poem and sharing it with presidential candidates. What was the response from the candidates, and how did that experience shape your views on the political system?
Yeah. I used to work for a literary agent, so I'm very used to sending out like a sample response email where, it's something that we send to everyone. But the presidential candidates wrote back to me and quoted certain lines in my poems. Now, do I know for a fact that it was specifically John McCain or someone in John McCain's cabinet? I'm not sure on that. However, they did respond back that the poem was true to form of what they were trying to make in America at that time, that they wanted everyone to come together. John McCain sent me back like a letter that he had signed as well. And then same with President Obama. He sent back a letter talking to me about the poem as well, quoting the poem, talking about how he wants everyone to come together. He was known as being someone who would bend onto both sides of the political end. Him and John McCain also had a really good working relationship. I think how that impacted me is in a multitude of ways. First, I have my students write letters to presidents, to companies. I have them do that so that they know that their voices can be heard. I'd like to tell people about that too, because every president that has been in office since I've been 18, I've written to, and only one, sorry, Trump, has never written back, but every other president has always written me back. So I think that it's very important because we are voters and they need to hear from the people, and we are the people who elect. So in America, I think that's very important to speak our minds and let them know what we're up to. That's why I started my podcast, Breakthrough, that's on YouTube, because I think that we need to educate the people and we can move masses in a higher way that way versus me joining in politics.
Wow, that's really great. That's really inspiring. You really got a great response from all the one who have you have sent. So yes,
Yeah.
that's really very important. So thank you so much for sharing your wonderful speech with the virtual summit. So please do join other speaker sessions as well and share your thoughts. And if you have any questions, so please engage with other speakers and share this in all the social networking sites. Have a
I
great
can't
day.
wait to listen to the rest today as well, Melinda. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.